All right, so here's an overview of what you guys need to do today. Fifth and sixth hour, I'm obviously not going to see you guys, so I figured this would be the easiest way for you to get directions. Your Google Classroom is going to look roughly like this over here. It's going to look a little bit different because I'm going to have attached a video to this post, the video I'm making right now, so you'll see those video directions. But in a nutshell, you're going to finish your work from yesterday. And I'll give you directions on that in a second. You're going to read and mark up a document on an overview of the Great Depression, kind of focusing on an economic standpoint there. And then with those two things are going to be due tomorrow. So those need to be done before you leave today. And then you're going to start working on lesson 2 of the Great Depression, and I'll show you what all that is. So in your Google Classroom stream, you're going to have the overview document, the lesson 2, and the lesson 1. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up with lesson 1 from yesterday. So what I'm looking for from you guys is I want you guys to do a good job. I want you guys to understand it. And I want you to make sure that you are able to do the best that you can to actually explain this stuff. So this isn't just, okay, look, I got it done and we're kind of good. So what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to have you guys pick up maybe in a little bit different place than we left off depending on your hour, but you guys are going to pick up with slide 15. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at a depression, what it means, in particular look at the category. So all that is a definition. It's not a big deal. You're going to run through the questions. What is inflation? What is deflation? What is CPI? And all these other review questions that are here. So you can just answer them either right on the document with a text box. So you can click up on the text box and you can make a new place for yourself to type, or you can click and you can type in the answer in the notes below, whichever is easiest for you. So after you get done with those questions, you're going to just finish the rest of the document. Same thing, text box or with that. Do the best you can with these. So political cartoon, what is he trying to do with, that's President Roosevelt. The pump is inflation, and what's he trying to do to Uncle Sam? And explain it the best you can. Your next slide, you have to pick 3 graphs that you would use to explain this. So when it says graph, it means consumer price index, unemployment, it means inflation, it means GDP. Which one of the graphs, so you'll scroll all the way back up to the top here where you had graphs, which one of these charts or graphs would you use to answer the question? So that's what they mean by graphs, and then you'll just type that right in there. So read the scenario, use the graphs for that. The last part gives you a series of letters that people have written. They're fake, but they represent real scenarios. And then you have to match them up with the responses that are given. So for example, letter 1 says, I have an upholstery repair business. It seems like every time I fill up my truck, it gets more expensive. It's been going on. How can you say that we don't have inflation? Okay, so gas is really expensive. Why don't we have inflation? What's wrong with you? And this is a letter to an editor of the newspaper. You're going to scroll down and you're going to figure out which one of these letters is the appropriate one. So in this case, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, okay, although the gas might be going up, it doesn't mean that the price is high. So this is going to be a response to, and you're going to find that was letter 1. So you're going to put response to letter 1. And then down here is a response, accurate, why or why not. This is the part that I'm really worried about, is that you can explain it. So explain why this response is right, and I'll help you out. I'm pretty sure they're all right. So you need to just explain why it's right. Okay, so you're going to know that it's right. Explain to me, it's accurate, yes, why or why not. It's accurate because it fulfills the definition for this reason. So you may have to look at the definition. So that you'll need to do for all 4 of those. Okay, so you're just going to match the letters, read the letters, and match the responses. Not that bad. Just make sure that you are understanding what it is you're doing, and you need to do that through explaining. So those can be 3, 4 sentences, not a big deal. At this point, you're going to want to pause this video and go finish up lesson 1. And then when you're done with lesson 1, you're going to want to turn it in on Google Classroom, which I don't know that I can necessarily show you. Nope, I can't show you. But if you get confused, I'll help you with that the next day. But make sure that you have that done. So pause the video, finish that up. All right, if you're back now, you should be done with the first part, and you should be looking at this document. This is an overview of the Great Depression. It is by an economist at the Federal Reserve. So it's written from an economic perspective. And it kind of looks at the banking system's role in the collapse of the country's economy. So it's going to give you a lot of numbers. It's going to give you a lot of charts. Feel free to look up words if there's something that's confusing. But what I'm looking for is simply like we've done before, read it and mark it up. So I want to see a good job with you actually marking it up. So that's going to be underlining, highlights, comments off to the side, maybe summary sentences, whatever you feel is appropriate. And this is going to take you a little bit of time to get through. It might not be quite as bad as it looks. But it does a pretty good job of laying out what the Depression was like from a numbers standpoint, why we had the Depression, how the banking system's role is in there, how we sort of fixed it or tried to fix it with the New Deal under President Roosevelt. And then it also talks about, could it happen again? Where are we looking at a possibility of ever having another Great Depression? So that will take you some time, but I want you to finish it. So at this point, just pause this. Go ahead and finish that. This should be done today, and your questions from yesterday. So those two things should be taken care of before the end of the hour for sure. All right, if you're back, that means you've done the first part. You have done lesson 1, and you have marked up your document. The last part that I'm looking for is to start on this. So this is just going to kind of talk about some questions from the document that you read and marked up. Starts with an overview of what was going on in the 1920s, how things were improving, people were getting better. Henry Ford was using the assembly line to make cars cheaper and more affordable. So all of a sudden people didn't have cars, now had cars. People that didn't have electricity now had electricity. People that didn't have, all kinds of things that go along with electricity had all this stuff. And people thought that this was just really good and life was just going to be good from now until forever and there was never going to be anything bad. And that's where the name the Roaring Twenties comes. People are happy. World War I is over and life is just good until the stock market crashed in 1929. So what I want you to do is I just want you to take and work through as many of these questions as you can based on the reading that you did. So pretty simple. You're answering the questions. They are in there and they are in order. Some of them are a little bit harder to find than others, so don't get too frustrated. You may have to be a little bit persistent. Most of you won't get this far, but if you do, get all the way through the questions. At this next point is you have a series of letters. There's actually 6 different letters that are here. And for each of those letters, there's something that the person's complaining about. So these are letters to different people, simulated letters, but on real topics. So you're looking at, for each letter, so for letter number 1 through 6, you're looking at what event, policy, or condition is the letter talking about. So in other words, what's the subject of the letter? What's the person upset about, complaining about? What are they trying to fix? And then what is the resulting condition or problem? So for example, in letter number 1, when you read it, you're going to see that talks about the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. And so that is your event, policy, or condition. So the actual thing it's talking about is the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. The resulting condition of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act is that, well, it hasn't happened yet. This guy's urging President Hoover to veto it. And if you remember, a tariff is a tax on imported goods. And he says that the tariff will do these things. So this one's a little different than the other ones because he's looking at a situation that hasn't happened yet, but what he says is going to happen is this tariff's going to increase prices because imports are going to be more expensive. It's going to damage exports because other countries aren't going to want to buy our stuff if we won't buy their stuff. It's going to hurt farmers because they're going to lose markets for their crop. It's going to promote inefficiency because instead of buying things for the best price, we're going to buy them for more, which means there's going to be less competition. And it's going to make other governments dislike us. So that's a foreign reprisal. They're gonna input tariffs on us. In other words, it's gonna hurt the economy. So you can either copy and paste if there's something in there, or you can summarize in your own words and kind of explain it. In this case, copy and pasting works just fine. So you'll go through all 6 letters and you'll figure out what that is. There's probably no way, if you're doing what you're supposed to with the marking up and reading of the document, that you get this far, but just get as far as you can, and we will finish this up in class tomorrow, and we'll kind of talk about everything. If you happen to get past that, there's a few more review questions here at the end that goes on to that. We're not going to do the group project yet, so you don't have to worry about that. But if for some unknown reason you get all the way through this, you can just stop, but you probably need to go back and examine whether or not you did your work or not. So